leadership across cultures, meaning, roles, and mindset. How the concept of leadership may change across the cultures. The overall objective of this session is to empower you to lead beyond cultural boundaries. So this is the overall objective of this session, and we have sub-objectives like understand how leadership is applied differently across cultures, recognize cultural influence on leadership styles and roles, identify strategies for effective cross-cultural leadership. What one word comes to mind when you hear the word leadership? You may have some idea, isn't it? Whenever you hear this word leadership, something comes to your mind. Maybe some people, right? Okay. So leadership is a popular term across the world. Everyone, would like to become leader. Most of the people, they want to become leaders. If somebody say to someone, you are not a leader, then that person will get upset. Because that much this term leadership is popular and people like this. What is leadership? What is the definition of leadership? There are many. So today I will give you simple definition you will never forget. Okay, you can apply this definition anywhere in the world, regardless of the cultural barriers. Okay, what is that? The ability to move people towards a goal, right? You must have people around you to follow you. Then you must have a goal. Then you have to move them towards that goal. For that purpose, you need ability. So once you have the ability, then you can move people towards goal. The efficiency or the effectiveness of the leadership is depend on what? How much you are able to move people towards a goal. So this is the general definition, right? Leadership, it is a universal concept, but the application of leadership is not universal. What is the reason? Because leadership is shaped by culture, values, and expectations of the community or the people involved in the process. So even though leadership is universal, the application is not. So cultural variation in leadership. Leadership is deeply tied to cultural values and social expectation. So becoming a leader means it is not only improving certain skills, it is about the awareness of the culture their followers live, right? It depends on the people around. For example, you are living in Malaysia, maybe you are coming from different part of the world, but when you lead somebody from different culture, then your leadership effectiveness will be tested, right? How far you are able to lead them. That's why we are focusing on this subject in this way. Cultural context, dividing the culture into two major areas, individualism and collectivism, right? These two dimensions first introduced by whom? Professor Geert Hofstede, right? We know that the world can be, classified into two groups as per the individualism and collectivism, right? So the green part, these are individualistic culture. What is this maroon color and the beige color? They are more towards what? Collectivistic culture, right? So the North America, Canada, then Australia, some part of the world in Europe, they are more into individualistic, right? Then South America and China, Malaysia, Asian countries, some of the African countries, we are more closer to collectivistic culture. So this cultural aspect influence how you lead others. Okay? So the core belief of individualistic cultures, I am responsible for my success. I must stand out. Right? This is the core belief of individualistic culture. Then what are the characteristics of this culture? Okay, personal freedom and independence are highly valued. Then people are expected to speak up and express their views. Leaders are often expected to be bold, visionary, and self-reliant. These are some of the traits of this culture. So when you go that part of the world, right, individualistic culture, dominating part of the world, then you can witness these kind of things in their day-to-day life. within family, within organization, the society. It is normal. But if you are coming from collectivist cultural background, at the beginning you will find some kind of barrier to communicate with them, socialize with them, right? You may not understand what is the meaning of their body language, certain words you may not understand. So these are some of the tribes. Okay. Then collectivist culture. What is the core belief of this culture? We succeed together. I must protect group harmony. That means here we are focusing about togetherness. Each individual, they feel that I am responsible for the harmony of the group, harmony of the organization, harmony of the family, right? Harmony of the community. So it is inbuilt within them. So what are the tribes of this culture? Loyalty to family, group, or organization is more important than personal ambition. So sometimes people sacrifice their personal goals and ambition for the benefit of their family or their organization. The leaders are respected more for wisdom, age, or moral integrity than charisma. For example, when you want to appoint a leader from within your local community, most probably an elderly person will be proposed because of their wisdom or their age or maturity, rather than choosing a young person even though they are qualified. They may not selected or proposed, right? Then decisions are often made through consensus. So the leader, for example, if you are the leader, you may not take decision by your own. You will discuss with the responsible people, get their consensus to come to a conclusion. Okay. So why we need to understand these aspects? Why? Because you need to lead them effectively, right? Regardless. For example, in your team, say you become a head of department in future, you become a CEO of a company, right? So you have people from different countries, some South Africa, North America, Middle East, South Asia, East Asia, from Russia. So you have multinational team members. Then you cannot apply your own cultural experience to lead them. You have to understand them individually and you have to apply them until they understand your culture. So you can minimize the storming time. You know that in terms of team development, there are 4 stages. How many of you know that? There are 4 stages to develop a team, right? So first stage is forming, then storming. After that, forming. 4th stage will become performing, right? So forming means what? You become a member of a team or you form a team with people from different cultural background. So when you start to work, because of the differences, not only cultural differences, there are various differences you may have, personal differences, professional differences, their experiences, age, gender, many. But cultural differences is one of the key or critical, reason for conflicts. So after forming a team, naturally you will move into the storming stage. That means you will have conflict, misunderstanding, right? Blaming. We expect something from somebody, then the way they react or reflect will give maybe different message to someone else. So that storm will happen, right? Then the storm will end up with what? Norming stage. So after each one of them understand, after 1 or 2 weeks or maybe a few months, okay, this person talk like this person share their opinion in this way. So they'll have an idea, okay, this is the way we have to work or go forward. And then only we'll start to perform. This is a normal process of a team, even in organization, right? Even a family. For example, if 2 person get married, if they are coming from different culture, you'll have storming, definitely storming stage. But how to minimize the storming stage? How to minimize the time for the storming stage is that is depend on your leadership ability, leadership skills, right? So if you know the cultural differences, then you can manage that storming and minimize the time. Then you can quickly go to the performing stage. Okay, right. Now we'll focus on leadership implications in cultural perspective. Just I will share with you some of the leadership traits. Then we will discuss from these two different cultural perspectives how these traits are seen, by those people. Okay. Number one, taking credit. So when you are performing or when you are working in a team or organization, taking a credit. Okay. How it is seen in individualistic cultures, right? So they see it is a reward. When you perform something better, so you can take the credit, isn't it? In individualistic culture, it is okay. They consider it as a reward. But in collectivist culture, seen as a boastful. If you say, I did this, I performed this, I overcame this challenge. So these people may think you are boasting yourself. That's the difference. You see, reward and boastfulness. So two different edges. Okay. Then delegating authority. As a leader, if you delegate somebody a work, in this culture, they see it as empowering. The person will see that as an opportunity to empower himself or herself. Okay. But in collectivist culture, may appear as an abandonment. What is that? It is like, giving up you. Okay, you do this. That person may think, oh, he or the leader gave up from the group. You see the different opposite reflection. Speaking out in meetings. So in individualistic culture, it is seen as an initiative. So if you speak out in a meeting, they will appreciate you. You have the courage to express your opinion. No, they appreciate that. But here, it may be different. They will consider disrespectful, especially if seniors are present in the meeting. The rewarding individuals, it is considered here motivational, but here risk of jealousy and disharmony. Okay, firing poor performance. If you find somebody in your organization performing not well, then what will happen? You will fire, right? Here it is expected. It is okay. But here it will be considered as unjust, right? Okay, these are some kind of indication how same aspect of leadership can be seen in different perspectives. These are maybe extreme perspective, but in reality you will feel in between somewhere, because nowadays we are talking about global village. So people are exposed to everything, but in reality, when it comes to real life, initially they will resist to change, right? Because of they brought up in a culture, you cannot change within 1 or 2 days. It takes time. So that's why we have to understand this kind of. Good. Now let's focus on dimensions of cultural leadership. We'll discuss 4 dimensions, okay, and then how these are practiced in different cultures. Power distance, decision making, communication, and accountability. Okay, power distance. In individualistic point of view, power distance is low compared to collectivistic culture. Here, the distances are hierarchical, higher. This I will show you some of the indicators. The power is shared and equality is emphasized. Okay, leaders are approachable and addressed by first name. In this culture, you can call people even they are your leaders, even they are your CEO or teacher. Sometimes they will call by name. It is okay for them, right? Subordinates are encouraged to challenge ideas. As a leader, if you put some idea, your followers, your team members can challenge, no problem. They will not see that as a big issue, because the hierarchy, the power distance is lower, like a flat. They can meet each other, they can argue, no problem. But in this culture, leaders are respected and often not questioned. So once you appoint a leader, you respect them, and we don't question much. We say, okay, because it is his decision, it is her decision, right? So we obey. Right. Titles, ranks, and seniority matter. Okay, so that's why I'm talking about the hierarchy. then subordinates may wait to be told what to do. In this culture, light blue, individualistic, they may ask, "What is my role? Please let me know." Here, they will wait until they are given the task because of the power distance, right? So if you happen to work in a opposite culture, you need to understand how things are working. It's very important for you. Otherwise, you will be sealed or stamped as poor performer, even though you are qualified. Right. The decision making here solo consensus. What do you mean by solo? Leaders are expected to make fast, independent decisions. So if you are appointed as a leader, you are responsible for your decision. You have to make quick decisions and independent decisions. You cannot depend on people always. Right? Speed, ownership, and risk-taking are admired. The input from others may be considered, but final authority lies with the leader. As a leader, you will ask opinion from people, but you are responsible to take the decision, and once you took the decision, you are responsible for the outcome. So that's the difference. But here, in the characteristic, what happened? Decisions are made through consultation and agreement. So shared responsibility. Even though you are the leader, the decision-making team, the council, will hold the responsibility of the decision you made. Process is slower, but builds harmony and commitment. Okay, you know that if you want to discuss a problem with a team, it may take long time. People may come up with their own ideas, so you will argue. Sometimes it takes long time to come to a conclusion, but at the end there will be a commitment because all of you involved. Avoiding conflict or loss of face is key. What is loss of face? That means in this case, normally we don't criticize people publicly, right? We protect them, even though some people, contradict. So there is a difference in this process, decision making, right? The third dimension is communication. Here we call direct communication. Here, most of the time, indirect. What is that? Saying exactly what you mean is respected in individualistic culture. Saying directly. Whatever you think, you can express your opinion. Right? Feedback, even negative, is expected to be clear. You can give your feedback, even if it's negative. You have to tell them the way you think you find. The disagreements are viewed as normal and healthy. Right? So, indirect practice what? Communication is subtle, polite, and often coded. Sometimes you will tell your opinion, only that person may understand, others may not understand, because you use certain words in such a way, to avoid conflict. So indirectly you will share your information. Even within your family, among your friends, you can see that. Right? And saying no directly can be seen as rude or confrontational. We don't say no. There are lots of ways to say no. Nowadays we call it smart no. Without saying no, we come up with certain phrases so that others will understand, okay, he is saying no. Leaders must read between the lines. What is that? Read between lines means what? That means as a leader, you have to understand what that person trying to tell you. For example, a team member says something externally different meaning, but internally you have to understand what they are what is the message inside those words. That is the nature of this part. The last dimension in this presentation, we talk about accountability. Individual and accountability belongs to individual who take the decision, who take the initiative. But here it is good. Why? Because you make decisions actually. So the individual owns success and failure. If you become successful, it is you. You'll be rewarded. If you fail, it is you. Okay? You own the responsibility and accountability. Performance appraisals, bonuses, and recognitions are personal. Okay? And high performance are singled out. What is that? So you'll be rewarded, right? You will be praised in front of others because of your performance. In collectivistic culture, the group shares responsibility and credit. If you lose, it is a group failure. If you success, it is a group success. Individual rewards may be viewed as divisive, right? Then peer pressure and collective duty shape behaviors, right? Because the way we grow up in a culture, that means we are surrounded by the similar aspects from family, neighbors, friends, teachers, everywhere you have the similar, so that you grow up in the same way, right? Right now we understand that leadership, what is leadership, and leadership effectiveness is depend on not only the personal ability of the person, it is about how far that person, that leader is, adapt according to the cultural differences. That's what we discuss now. We discuss about the dimensions, Now, just I would like to give you quickly some tips so that you can improve your leadership further, right? Here we have talked about cultural intelligence, CQ. What is that? The ability to recognize and adapt to different cultural expectations. Say, for example, you are a Chinese, you go to work in Dubai. So the culture is not same like US, but you will find difference, right? Or if you are African, you go to work in Russia, for example, you will see the difference. So cultural intelligence is what? Recognize and adapt yourself. That is CQ. So those who have higher CQ, they can lead anyone around them, regardless of any culture. Number one, observe first, then speak. Don't hurry to express what you think immediately. First observe. It may take some time. If it is one-to-one session with somebody, few minutes you have to observe. If you move to work in a different country, then you have to observe some time, few days, few weeks, how people behave, how people express their opinion, how people fight, how people make peace. You have to observe it. Then only you have to speak. You have to speak what your opinion. Ask questions about expectations, right? So before we tell what we think, for example, if you are handling a customer, a student, okay, or someone, a client, before we express our solution, we have to understand what is the expectation. That will tell us about many things, right? Then be open to local ways while staying true to your core values. Adapting to a cultural difference means it is not change completely. You have to maintain your core values. Okay? While maintaining your values, we have to adapt the way we communicate, the way we express. The objective is what? To achieve, to help them, or to achieve the business objective. So as a leader, people may follow you not just because you lead. So you are appointed as a head of department. So because of your appointment as a head of department, people may not follow you. Why people follow you? Because you respect their way of being led. So when your follower understand that my leader stand who we are, our culture, our traditions, then they will be willing to follow you. That is the best part of this oral, session. Right. If you are from an individualist culture leading a collectivist team, okay, what you should focus is very important. I'll give you 3 points. So, genuine concern for group well-being. You are an individualist, okay? In individual culture, that they more focus on personal. But if you want to lead, genuinely, you have to have a genuine concern for group well-being. Take time to build relationship before pushing results. Okay, that means you have a task to get done through your team. Before you assign the task, focus on building relationship, because collectivistic culture, they focus on that. Avoid public criticism. Use private face-saving feedback. And because in collectivistic culture, they don't happy to be criticized in front of others, isn't it? So these are some of the tips you can adapt when you lead. The other way around, if you are coming from collectivist culture and you are leading people from individualistic cultural background, encourage individual initiative and self-expression. So you have to give room for each one of your team member to express their opinion boldly, whatever comes to their mind. So they'll be happy to be with you. Be open to healthy debate and feedback, and be transparent in how decisions are made and why. So, for example, say you have a team, leadership team, you make a decision, you just announce the decision to your members. If you have somebody from individualistic cultural background, they will ask, how do you come to this conclusion? He wants or she wants to know about this. That's why we need to be open and transparent when we are working with them. Okay, before I conclude, takeaways of this session. Leadership is not a fixed formula. Culture deeply influences how we define and experience leadership. That is number one. Okay. Number two, cultural intelligence is essential for today's leader. Third one, adaptability and respect are greater assets than technical skills alone. You may have high level qualifications, high GPA, right, experience, but adaptability and respect people from different culture is great asset comparably if you want to lead people effectively. With that, I'd like to conclude this session. Give you a feedback by scanning this QR code.